On behalf of the City of New Bedford Veterans Advisory Board, I'd like to thank everyone for attending the rededication and acknowledgement to the restoration of 3 tank memorials here in the City of New Bedford over the past 6 months. To begin our program, I would like to call for the advancement of the colors by the Greater New Bedford Marine Corps League Detachment 1399. Advance the colors.
Detail. Oh. Left. Face. Post. Colors.
I'd like to call forward our city's Director in Veteran Services, Christopher G. Gomes.
Present. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready. Forward. Arms. Left. Face. Forward. March.
Please be seated. In beginning the program, I wanted to just give a little bit of a story as to why we chose today. The U.S. Army Brotherhood of Tankers began working on the Papineau tank as well as the Franco-American tank in early August. As they were going through the scraping and priming and painting stage, we determined that August was not going to be a month that the tank would be ready. We felt that October was a month that might be too cool, so it would be September. As we were looking at that, the Tanker Association, they had 2 other memorial services the first 2 weekends of September. Members of the Papineau family had functions at the end of September, leaving today, September 17th, the only available day for the service to occur. Within a few minutes of cleaning up the flowers around the memorial, we realized that the original dedication of the square was September 16th, 1956. So without even knowing it, we were 60 years to the day in having a rededication and acknowledgement for the work that's been done here in the city. The original square was sponsored by Post-War American Legion here in the city. They brought in the tank. The tank was unloaded at Bellevue Ave and then driven into this place here with members of the Papineau family and members of Post-War American Legion. With that, I'd like to call up members of the Post to give a reading from Alvin T. Fuller, who's the commander, as well as a message from Post-War American Legion. Bernice?
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee. The remarks from the Commander Alvin T. Fuller of the American Legion Post 1 at New Bedford. Due to a conflict of commitments, I am not able to attend today. This is an honor for Post 1 and the City of New Bedford to be able to rededicate Papineau Square as it must have been for the Commander Beauregard on the original day. My thoughts are with you all, and my thanks to you, all who made this possible. God bless all, and God bless America.
And now some words from Post-War American Legion being delivered by Christopher Cotter.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Christopher Cotter, and I have the honor of standing here as a proud veteran and as a member of the American Legion Post 1 of New Bedford. It was 60 years ago yesterday, September 16, 1956, when this square was dedicated to Private First Class Norbert A. Papineau, who was killed in action in Germany on February 27, 1945. On that day, 60 years ago, the weather may have forced the dedication ceremony indoors, but on this day, as you can see, we are celebrating under much better weather. Looking back for information on the initial dedication, I learned that despite the rain, they still went on with the plaque unveiling and the wreath placement on this beautiful tank behind me. The generation back in those days was extremely patriotic, which was proudly shown with the numerous groups that participated in the initial dedication. Those included members of the New Bedford Post 1, the VFW, the Army Reserve, the National Guard, as well as the Boy Scouts of America. As was stated on the initial dedication by Richard Stockwell, past State Vice Commander of the American Legion, there is a huge debt of gratitude owed by the nation to PFC Papineau, as well as other war heroes. This is a debt that we, as a nation, will never be able to pay back to the families who have suffered a loss of the loved ones in all conflicts of those that we are still fighting today as well. I have also found that issues having difficulty in retaining our soldiers back then from the lack of funding was relevant legislative argument that is still present today. But that political issue did not stop PFC Papineau from enlisting and ultimately giving his life in the name of freedom. It was the New Bedford Post 1 that started the pursuit of acquiring this square for PFC Papineau and was assisted by the late former City Councilor Emmerich Chanel. The location and the honor and pride that those involved must have felt getting this dedication in a square location must have been an incredible feeling, because I can tell you that the honor and pride that I have today, 60 years later, being part of this rededication is beyond words. Going through several months of articles, it seemed to me that the residents of the city of New Bedford and its surrounding communities, that the loss of life of our military members was becoming a norm in society during that time. I'm sure that those families that attended the initial dedication would have never thought that their family member would have had such an honor bestowed upon them. Well, not only were those in attendance at the initial dedication able to witness such an honor, now a generation who missed meeting PFC Papineau are now part of his rededication. And a huge part of today's event is all due to the Brotherhood of Tankers. So on behalf of the New Bedford Post 1, we thank you. The brotherhood of a fellow soldier is a bond that is strong and be compared to the bond of that of a family. I believe this bond is in fact visible today as the fellow veterans of this fine tanker brotherhood brought this tank and memorial back to life. That bond was also present on September 16, 1956, when two men who served with PFC Papineau, Albert Memorian of Providence, Rhode Island, and Michael Martinek of Northampton, Pennsylvania, came to participate and place the wreath at the tank. So in closing, I would like to thank the Papineau family for sharing their loved one, who paid that ultimate sacrifice with his life, for securing the freedoms that we are able to enjoy as a free nation today. The nation is grateful, but we as a city will always be reminded of PFC Norbert Papineau with this beautiful tank and this rededicated memorial square for generations to come. I just want to thank everyone for coming out for today's events. Thank you.
In order to have what was being done here today occur along with the other two memorials here in the city, I wanted to give some thanks to individuals from the U.S. Brotherhood of Tankers who are standing to my left, pretty much at attention over there, who spent numerous weekends here in the city. They are from all over the region. They would drive down here in the spring as well as in the heat of the summer to scrape, prime, paint, and actually do several bits of restoration on each of the three tanks here. I got another. I'm always prepared. But in order to also assist them, we received assistance through Mayor John Mitchell's office, who did some coordination for us, the City of New Bedford's Department of Public Infrastructure, who came up and found areas where it needed to be re-welded, for safety concerns, as well as power washing the tanks that get the many years of dirt, grime, and grease off so that the paint would adhere. And then in addition to all of that, we also had support coming in from our city council, which several of the members are standing to my left as well. And they are City Council President Linda Morad, Councilor Steve Martins from Ward 2, Jim Oliveira from Ward 1, Henry Bosquet from Ward 3, and Council at Large Ian Abreu. And they are also over there as well. At this time here, one of the things that came about without any prior knowledge was members of the Papineau family still around our area who took an interest in what was happening. And to be their spokesperson, I'd like to bring up Cindy Mello Vieira, who discovered it on a Facebook posting and has learned new cousins that she did not know that existed. And she and her mother spent numerous Saturdays here urging on, cheering on, and then eventually getting down and dirty with the paint job here at the tank. Cindy Vieira.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my family, I would like to thank you all for coming to the dedication. A little shout out to Robert Bromley and social media, as this is how I stumbled upon the restoration of the tank. Once I explained I was a family member and wanted to be an active part of the restoration, he put me in contact with Jim Bagdon of the U.S. Army Brotherhood of Tankers, and the rest was history. That afternoon, I informed my mom of the wonderful news of the restoration of her Uncle Norbert's tank, and yes, we cried. We were so excited we could hardly wait to tell everyone. We were ecstatic when the day arrived and we could meet the Brotherhood. We showed up thinking we would spend a short time at Papineau Square, introduce ourselves, and leave. I'm excited to say that was not the case. The Brotherhood welcomed us with open arms. Some might say they were excited as we were. We shared stories the rest of the day. We learned some history and found out about family members we didn't know we had. This continued throughout the remainder of the restoration process. I was overjoyed when I was told I could grab a paintbrush and be an active member in the restoration. As for my mom, she couldn't stay away. She showed up and sat and watched every time they came down. Just for the record, some of the days were the hottest days we had this summer. My brothers, my boys, have been fortunate to meet and interact with this amazing brotherhood. My family and I would like to thank everyone involved in the restoration of the M4 Sherman. She never looked so good. For my mom and I, this was an amazing journey to be able to hang out with these guys and have the opportunity and the joy and passion and what the brotherhood is all about. Their passion and camaraderie that these guys have is unmeasurable. Thank you for making me, my mom, my family, a part of your family. We are forever grateful. Thank you.
Each of the three memorials had a sponsorship. The first one occurring in March and April was the Exercise Tiger M4 Sherman, and that was sponsored by the Fort Taber Fort Rodman Historical Association and Military Museum. The M4 Sherman that's here for Papineau Square was sponsored by Post-War American Legion. And the Franco-American Veterans Square, the M26 Pershing tank, was generally sponsored by the Franco-American Veterans Association and Ward 3 City Councilor Henry Bosquet. At this time, I'd like to call Councilor Bosquet just to say a few words on behalf of the three sponsors.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Bromley, for the invitation to speak today. Veterans Squares, like Papineau Square, are meant to remind us of the great gifts given to our communities by those who serve to protect our nation's sovereignty. Our nation's veterans are great treasures and deserve to be celebrated as such. However, what makes those veterans even more valuable are the values, traditions, and pride that they return from that service with. Those veterans that do come home join boards and commissions, fraternal organizations like the Lions and the Masons. They become politicians, scoutmasters, public safety officers, community leaders, small business owners, and often join a corps of volunteers somewhere for community cleanups, and projects like the one before us today. The United States Army Brotherhood of Tankers enjoys a rich heritage and a tradition of important military brotherhood. In those rolling battle wagons and small fortresses on treads, the greasy mechanics and weapons specialists learn about teamwork, and they build connections that last forever. I want to thank them for bringing their knowledge and expertise to New Bedford. I'd also like to invite them to our next celebration meeting at the City Council on October 20th at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers. We would like to recognize them in front of the entire citizenry of New Bedford for their amazing gifts to New Bedford. USABO, as I think they pronounce it, has treated New Bedford to the ultimate gift of heritage, culture, and art. And I thank you, and on behalf of the City Council, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service to our nation and for this great gift to New Bedford.
If you go to each of the 3 memorials that have been restored, you'll notice that a nickname has been placed upon all 3 tanks, which was customary of the tankers, as well as the United States Army Air Corps in nicknaming their bombers and planes. The tank that's down at Fort Taber Park is named Slappin' Sands for the battle that the memorial is dedicated to. The Franco-American square tank, being an M26 Pershing tank and a Franco-American vets, is nicknamed Lafayette. And here at the Papineau Square, the nickname that was most appropriate is the nickname that he had in his family while in service as well, is Pappy. So this is now dedicated as Pappy's tank. I'd like to call up now Paul Souza, a member of the United States Army Brotherhood of Tankers, to say a few words on their behalf.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Mitchell, City Councilors, distinguished guests, good morning, and thank you for coming. Today, we are representing a 6,000 plus member organization, the United States Army Brotherhood of Tankers. And while we are a relatively small group, we have a very important mission statement. Our mission is to preserve the mounted armored cavalry heritage of the United States Army. Memorials like this were put in place to commemorate the sacrifices made by members of the greatest generation. And for years, these memorials were kept in great shape by them. But sadly, we are losing these veterans at a tune of over 1,000 a day. And along with them, we lose the history of their bravery and sacrifice. It is our generation's responsibility to take over from them and to make sure that these memorials and stories are kept alive. They represent our past, and to give it the honor, dignity, and reverence. It's been our distinct honor and pleasure to have worked on this memorial to Norbert Papineau. During our time here, we've learned so much about his service, his sacrifice, and those stories kept us going through the hot summer. To make sure that the memorial turned out almost perfect, I think we accomplished that mission. We now turn the memorial over to you, the citizens of New Bedford. Please take care of it, all right? It's part of the city, all right? It's our heartbeat. We'd like to extend a hearty thank you, first of all, to the city of New Bedford, to the citizens for the logistical support, to include DPI, the Military Museum, the Mayor's office, and everybody who was able to just nudge us along and clear a little path for us to get past that. City councilors for helping us also through some more of the red tape, just cutting through it. Let's just get to the point. We'd like to thank the citizens of New Bedford, right? They stopped by every time we were over here and just give these words of encouragement and tell us stories. I used to crawl inside here, and I remember when I used to drop my kid off here, and these stories are invaluable. But that's what the city's about. Of the whole bunch, I'm the only one that's the New Bedford kid. Well, we bring our members are from all over. I mean, we come from Rockland, we come from Franklin, we come from Milford, and they're from all over. And they come all the way down here, even from Rhode Island, to just do the work, because it's something we love. And Bob Bromley, thank you very much for all the historical information support you've given us. And last but not least, the Papineau family, okay, who came out and told us stories about Norbert, which made the memorial come alive. And thank you for getting down and dirty, all right, and putting paint on the memorial. Thank you very much. Stay on the tank.
Paul mentioned it, but it was quite glad to see that the citizens that were coming by, the neighbors that are around here that were coming out. Paul forgot to mention that many of them went grab supplies for them, coffee, donuts, whatever they needed, because how appreciative they felt for their tank, as if they'd taken their own personal responsibility and ownership of this square here. I'd like to call forward now Mayor of our city of Bedford, Jonathan F. Mitchell, to sum up today's rededication of the services.
Well, I think so. I think everything has been summed up pretty well by everybody who's spoken before me, very, very well. And maybe I'll just say this. What we've witnessed here is a tremendous team effort with folks in city government stepping up, playing a supporting role. And my mic is off. Now is it on? Look at that, just the push of a button. Look at that. What I was saying was this was a tremendous team effort, an effort that combined folks in city government who did the little extra, went the extra yard, but primarily it was the folks who have busy schedules and other things to do, who took time out of their busy lives to bring back to life this square, the square that we've all sort of driven by countless times over the years. And I want to just offer a few thanks, and even at the risk of redundancy, because people really do need to be thanked emphatically. I want to start with the great team of Chris Gomes and Bob Bromley, who through 365 days a year make our city a place, a continually welcome place for veterans, and a place that it really stands out, a city that stands out as particularly patriotic, whether it's the organizing of veterans events, the parades, of course, but also the special care they take to make our memorials just so. I want to thank the Brotherhood of Tankers for making it happen, for coming down here and taking time out of your summer on hot summer days, and it was a hot summer, to make this part of our city look sharp, but particularly for making this memorial look great. And I want to thank everybody who stepped up in some way, the residents of this neighborhood, the volunteers, everybody who offered something else. It's just such a great example of folk, and of course Post One for their efforts. It's just such a great example of how when the initiative comes from citizens in our community, the government works particularly well. We work best when we play a supporting role. This is your day. You've made this happen, and we in city government are proud to be part of it. What I would say is that we have a few children in the audience, and of course we have the Papineau family, and Cindy gave some really terrific remarks in that regard about the family connection to this memorial. You might ask, well, what's the big deal? Because I think we have to return to that. All this effort that we put in, and it is effort. It's not money that makes this happen. It's effort. The effort shows that what this place stands for, and what Norbert Papineau stood for, and kids like him who signed up, who enlisted, who took the oath back then, and with every other war and in between stood for, really mattered. It's that effort. It's the little things. If you take a good look at this tank, look at the little details. Look at the tracks, for instance, and the care that went into restoring that, and all the paint and all the scraping that took place. Was a tremendous amount of work. And the landscaping, disregard the dry lawn. Everybody's lawn is dry these days, right? But all the care with which this place was restored, it took tremendous effort because it matters. And when we together as a community express collectively what matters, it will matter in the future. It will matter to every veteran, and we have many in the audience here. When they walk by the square, they drive by, they'll say, you know, this is a community that cares, that is patriotic, and that understands the sacrifices that veterans like Norbert Papineau and so many others from this city made to secure our republic, to secure our freedoms. And that's the message that we have to send. I mentioned children. That's the message that we have to send to our children in our community. And in that way, so that they understand that, you know, when it comes time to serve, however they serve, whether it's in the military or in some other way, in some civilian capacity, that it's important to give back to the community, that we're not individually islands unto themselves, but we're part of a greater community. So I really want to thank you most of all for helping New Bedford continue to be a great example for America when it comes to patriotism, when it comes to honoring veterans, when it comes to upholding its core community values. This is it, and this is one of those days where I can say I'm just so proud to be a citizen of this great city. Thanks so much, everybody.
I'd like to call forward Bernice Stinson to conclude the official part of the program with a rededication prayer for the memorial.
Thanks, City. First of all, before I do the prayer, I want to thank everybody. You gentlemen are fantastic. This city is fantastic. Mr. Bromley, thank you for including me. One of the things I do want to say on behalf, I am the District Director for the American Legion Auxiliary for the district area. And I want to thank the families of all veterans, whether they're serving or have served, because the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the brothers, the children, the nieces and cousins, they're the unsung heroes of our veterans, and I want to thank them. And if you get a chance, join an organization that has an auxiliary, whether it's the Legion, the VFW, something, and keep this going, because we need your help. Let's be in the spirit of prayer. Father, 60 years and one day ago, the City of New Bedford and the American Legion Post 1 met here and dedicated this square in honor of Norbert A. Papineau. Today we are here again to rededicate this tank and square. We are honored to have members of the Papineau family here. Father, bless all those gathered here. Father, also let us not forget the deeds of these men and women who serve in our country's armed forces, who are no longer with us, and for those who serve and still protect our country now. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Just one concluding thank you is to Robert and Dale Snyder, who were able to step in to assist with our color guard. The Marine Corps detachment has another function in the city to attend, and they could only post the colors at this time. So again, Bob and Dale, thank you for assisting. This concludes the rededication service. We thank, on behalf of the Veterans Advisory Board, we thank everybody, including the Brotherhood of Tankers, the City Council, the Papineau family, and Post 1 American Legion, and the citizens for attending today's rededication service. Thank you.